car crash cases, defective products, dangerous drugs, injuries, and abuse. Across the state of Alabama, the attorneys, proudly sponsored by the law firm of Hollis Wright, are here to serve you. Your tough legal questions answered by our experts. The attorneys with Josh Wright from the law firm of Hollis Wright and host David Lamb.
Hello and welcome into the attorneys. We're so grateful for you being with us tonight. Got an exciting conversation that I think you're really going to enjoy. You know, the American dream is to be your own boss and to have financial independence. And for so many folks, they've got a business idea or a dream they've always had, and maybe this is the year you take advantage of it. Well, our conversation tonight is about starting your own business and franchising. So if you've got a dream, we'd love to hear the questions that you may have for our panel of experts. You'll see at the bottom of the screen the way that you can call, text, and email. Also, an attorney standing by right now to speak with you live. So get those questions into us, and we'll pass it along to our panel of experts, led by Josh Wright of the firm Hollis Wright, who've now, you've been in business for yourself for a number of years. So you know a great deal about this.
Now, if we could figure out how to franchise what we're doing, we could make this part, maybe the show, right?
Maybe we got to figure it out here.
You know, I think your intro is right on, and that is that there are a lot of entrepreneurs out there. There are a lot of folks that want to start their own business. We're going to be talking about entrepreneurship. We'll be talking about how to start a business, and we're going to be talking about franchise agreements. You know, 11% of all businesses out there are related to a franchise relationship one way or the other. So that's a huge component and kind of sector of society, if you will, in the business realm and world. When we do these shows, as you well know, based on what we do as a firm, this is not our skill set. So we bring on the experts, and we have brought on one today, one that has worked for our firm as a clerk in the past and has started his own law firm and just flourished, as I knew you would from the start, and I told you that many years ago, and you certainly have. And Craig Lawrence is with us today. Craig works at a firm called Gray, Lawrence and Jenkins here in Birmingham, and it's been awesome to see you develop as a lawyer and to build your own practice and start your own business. How did you get involved, really, from the personal injury and kind of wrongful death-based work that we were doing when you were with us into kind of this very business-oriented side of the practice?
Right. Well, I think it goes back to having an opportunity to pursue the JD MBA, and I was one of those people that got into the marketing and the business side of, you know, just taking some of those business classes, and it's almost like something clicked in my head where it's kind of like I got a vision for entrepreneurship. I got a vision for starting your business, and it's like something went off inside of me, and I thought to myself, you know, there's probably a lot of people that haven't figured out, you know, the passion, the joy of kind of starting their own business. And so, you know, I started to look for opportunities to be involved in entrepreneurship. And one of the ways that I've been able to do that is start my own law firm where I focus almost exclusively on entrepreneurship and on, you know, deals and, you know, everything like that. And so, you know, you've had an opportunity to start your own firm, so you see, you know, kind of the ups and downs that go along with it, but it's exciting. You know, you see the risk, you see the reward, but it's you know, just an incredible opportunity to see people kind of pursue their passions, even when it's you know, it's challenging at the beginning a lot of times, and they're not really sure what the path looks like. So it's nice to be there along with them for the ride.
And the beauty of this process is that there really is a need to have legal assistance along the entire process, whether you are the small two-man shop that is going to start a law firm, or an individual that's going to start a sole proprietorship to sell t-shirts on the side of the road. There are business licenses and capital and things that you need where you can have a lawyer lead, guide, and direct you through the process.
Right. So really at the beginning of the process, you just have a dream. You have a passion. You have, you know, a lot of people, I'll just use this as an example, golf. You know, a lot of people like to play golf, and you know, you have a passion for getting out there. And a lot of people don't realize that there's a way to monetize that. There's a way to, you know, it could be beyond a Saturday thing for them. So, you know, that might look like, you know, just starting a blog about golf. You know, that could go so many different directions. And we sit down with them at the very beginning and say, you know, these are what your tools are. And one of your tools might be a legal entity. One of your tools might be an LLC. One of your tools might be a corporation. One of your tools Let's say you've got a little bit of traffic on a blog. Maybe you have a little bit of a brand there. What does that brand look like? Maybe we protect that brand with a trademark. And sometimes people are having a little bit of success with a coffee shop or whatever the case might be, and they say, I want to start franchising this thing. I think this could be bigger than just myself, and that's a fun time to get involved with business.
Yeah, so, I think one of the concerns people have when they're starting businesses would be that, getting consultants and experts and lawyers involved can be super expensive, but there's really a way where you can have a lawyer kind of hold your hand and lead, guide, and direct you through the process without it breaking the bank. Isn't that fair?
Absolutely.
And that's just kind of one of the components of starting a business.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we do when we sit down with a business is we say, we're going to look at your needs and look for opportunities that we can fill the void. And in a lot of cases, we can fill the void by being on call. We have sort of general counsel type roles where it might be just a very small amount per month, where we're on call, we're available, and if something doesn't come up, something doesn't come up, but if something does, we're available.
So often people who have these dreams, they know what they know. Like if it's golf, they know golf,
right,
inside and out. But I think oftentimes the great advantage to having legal counsel is you really don't know what you don't know. You know the golf, but maybe you don't know how to run a business. And I would think this kind of relationship would really be crucial in making sure that your dream, following your passion, does not end up in just a disaster, which is the worst scenario that you want.
That's exactly right. And that's kind of where the LLC, the corporation comes into play. You have unfortunately, we've dealt with situations where companies have raised a lot of money, and things didn't fall through. And right. Those situations, you're very thankful for the corporation, which protects the owners, from liability, right, and limits, their house, their home, their 401k, and things of that matter.
I know we're getting ready to go to break, and when we get back, I want to talk a little bit about business structures, about LLCs, corporations versus sole proprietorships. I know Craig will be able to field those questions, and then I want to work our way into franchise relationships. But I will say this: there's a great example of a cookie company that was started right here in Birmingham with just a housewife that really wanted to cook cookies and started her business, and it comes to our office every Friday, and I will just tell you, there's a way to start a business if you've got a true passion and you have the right people surrounding you. There's a way to start a business that can actually materialize into something significant. So we'll talk about some of those things when we'll
do it. It's going to be an interesting conversation, so if you have a business dream and a question you've always wanted to answer, now's the time to get that answered. Call, text, email, join the conversation. Stay tuned, more of the attorneys coming right up.
I'm Carter Clay with the law firm of Hollis Wright. Thanks for watching The Attorneys on WVTM 13. Now we hope you, a friend, or a loved one never need legal counsel for a case. But if you do, the goal of this show is simple: to provide answers and legal counsel when you need it the most. Your call to the show is free, so if you have questions specific to this show or related to other specific legal matters, call, email, or text us to talk with one of our lawyers. You can also follow us on Facebook or Twitter to learn about important legal news that could affect you or your family member. Or simply contact us by going to WVTM13.com and click on the attorney's link. Now we know your time is valuable, so thank you for spending it with us and for watching The Attorneys right here on WVTM 13.
Following that dream is often not the easiest road, for sure. Welcome back into The Attorneys, talking about entrepreneurship, starting your own business, and franchising. We'd love to have you be a part of the conversation. Call, text, email, that information you see at the bottom of your screen.
When we went out to break, I saw the statistic that 12% of those that get involved in the franchise world are veterans or have previously been in the military. And I know we haven't really unpackaged franchise relationships, but people understand McDonald's and Subway, those are franchises. Why do you think it is that military individuals are so attracted to that area?
Absolutely. Well, when you have a successful concept, whether that be McDonald's, you think of the independently owned McDonald's. Basically, someone comes to McDonald's and says, hey, I want to use your business model. I want to open up a restaurant. At that point, you go to Burger University, you get all the training, you have very specific steps to follow. And for someone that's been in the military, having those steps to follow, they can take a play and run it. And once the play is out there, they can execute upon that play. And who better than our veterans who've done an amazing job for our country?
Yeah, that's cool. All right, so let's talk a little bit about business organizations. I know you took that class in school, I did
That's
too.
right.
I got enough out of it to be a little dangerous, but there are some business structures that an entrepreneur that wants to start, whether it's a t-shirt shop, a law firm, whatever, you've got the ability to structure your business in such a way that kind of protects you and your assets that are private and separate from that business. Is that fair?
Absolutely. The thing that the legal entity does is it provides a separate protection from you and your family. And so the most basic type of business is a sole proprietorship, and that's just, hey, I want to start a business and I have no legal entity, so if I get sued, I'm getting sued personally. My home, my car, my 401k, all of those are basically exposed. But then you have the legal entities that might give you limited liability, and the main ones we could take all day going through all of the ones, but the main ones in my practice that I see are the corporation, and that might be an S corporation, and the LLC. And for a lot of small business owners that are just starting a restaurant, they're starting a t-shirt company, the LLC is very flexible and it doesn't have a lot of corporate formalities, so it looks like a really good fit. And then for those that are going to go out and raise a lot of investor money, whether that be angel investors or venture capital or all the way up to private equity, the corporation is more of conventional what the investors are used to seeing. They're used to getting stock, and the LLC is more of a fit for the smaller business that's getting started. So
this is a totally another show, and we won't go there, but Craig talked a little bit about the limited liability that you can get to kind of protect yourself, protect your personal assets if something goes wrong with the company, or if there's a broken contract and you get sued, whatever, anything could happen. There are also some tax benefits. Again, this is another show, but there's some significant tax benefits for why you'd want to be an LLC over something else. And at the end of the day, you really need to get a lawyer involved. It's not super expensive to do it, but you need to get a lawyer involved to sit down with you, evaluate what your plan is, what your model is, and what you're driving at, to determine what will be best from a taxability perspective, what would be best from a liability perspective, to ensure and maintain that as you start your business, you're starting it with the right business organization structure.
Right. That is key. Another question I think that a lot of folks are curious as to, that certainly is a big part of that component, finding the right structure for you, but also the differences, should I buy into a franchise or start my own? Can you give us a working definition of what a franchise is? What makes a franchise?
Absolutely. Basically, the franchise relationship is using intellectual property and using a brand created by someone else independently, basically to create your own company.
Examples are McDonald's, Subway.
McDonald's, Subway.
Yeah.
So someone comes to Subway and says, look, there's a big need for a sub shop, somewhere around my community, and you guys have a recognized brand, and Subway says, here's our entire game plan. To run this game plan, there's going to be an agreement that we'll enter into, and you can operate under Subway. And so you can gain the fact that we've developed this national brand, whereas if you were just, a random sub shop, no one would know who you are.
Yeah, why reinvent the wheel?
Exactly, exactly.
So this franchisor-franchisee relationship, a lot of times that really can jumpstart a business, can it?
Absolutely, absolutely. For the first-time franchisor, let's take for example a coffee shop. So a coffee shop, let's say the three of us go into business, we start a coffee shop, and for whatever reason we're experiencing some success. We don't know why, we're starting to make some money, but we don't really have millions and millions of dollars to go national with this thing. But we have the vision that this could go national. We have a vision for what this brand could be. And by turning it into a franchise concept, we can have people come to us. They pretty much put up most of the money, they take most of the risk, and there's more people out there than the three of us, and so they can grow it more quickly. They already have boots on the ground in other states. They already have understanding of what's going on in the community there. So
have you met Jim and Joshua Starbuck?
That's us.
That's us, right?
We have this idea. Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna unpackage when we come back from the break. Let's unpackage a little bit more the franchisees relationships, because one of the things that Craig told me before we were going to the last break was one of the most exciting and exhilarating things that he sees is somebody who really hits it big and does well, and then franchises their business out to the community to allow it to grow, for other people to take the risk, but to build that brand, which is kind of a cool concept. And there are some great examples in Alabama and in Birmingham of that working with success.
I bet that's exciting to be a part of. Our final segment of The Attorneys coming right up. Just enough time for you to join the conversation. Take advantage of it. Also find us on Facebook. That's a business that turned out pretty well, I think, Facebook. And also Twitter. So find the firm of Hollis right there. Stay tuned. More of The Attorneys coming right up.
I'm Tyler Vale with the law firm of Hollis Wright. In court, attorneys are not allowed to tell juries certain things. For example, we cannot talk about a defendant's net worth, meaning the defendant's ability, resources, or insurance to pay a verdict. In this week's Legal 411, we're answering the question, why can't lawyers talk about a defendant's net worth to a jury? Rule 403 of the Alabama Rules of Evidence states, although relevant, evidence may be excluded if its probative value is substantially outweighed by the danger of unfair prejudice, confusion of the issues, or misleading the jury, or by considerations of undue delay, waste of time, or needless presentation of cumulative evidence. Long-standing Alabama cases have held that the net worth of a defendant falls under this catch-all rule. The reasoning behind the rule is that if a jury knows a defendant is wealthy, then the jury might award more money to the plaintiff. And this goes one step further. If an attorney makes any remarks that suggest the defendant is responsible because he is rich and the plaintiff is poor, that can be grounds for a new trial. If you're ever on a jury, the reality in our state is this. In almost every lawsuit that goes to trial, the attorneys representing both the plaintiff and the defendant have already looked at whether there is sufficient insurance coverage or assets to satisfy a verdict. The reality is this. The parties would not pursue a civil lawsuit if damages could not be paid after a jury returns a verdict. So even though lawyers cannot mention the net worth of a defendant during a trial, there could still be resources available to pay a verdict in court. Please remember, your call, email, or text to the attorneys is free. All of us at Hollis Wright want to help answer your questions on real issues you face. Remember, a competent lawyer will respond to every question you send in. That's our pledge and promise to you.
Welcome back in to The Attorneys. Just a few minutes remaining in this conversation tonight on entrepreneurship and starting your own business and franchising. So join the conversation, that information at the bottom of the screen. Josh?
What type of business brands are good for a franchise or franchisee relationship?
Absolutely, that's a great question. Really and honestly, the true answer is franchising can be almost any industry. And some of the most popular examples that come to mind are in the restaurant industry, but it goes every direction imaginable. There's ones that are geared towards stay-at-home moms. There's ones that are geared towards accounting. There's ones that are geared towards You're starting to see ones that are basically franchise law firms, not practicing in franchise law, but just a law firm that's a franchise. And there's it's gone in so many different directions. That just shows you kind of the flexibility of the business model and just the amount of businesses that have had an opportunity to have success with it.
We skimmed it a bit, but let's dive in a little deeper. In your opinion, what are the advantages of the franchise relationship and that system in terms of growing a business and creating some wealth?
Absolutely. Well, one of the first advantages is, while it's not a no-cost growth strategy, it's a low-cost growth strategy. So let's say that, going back to the coffee example, we're able to have a concept. If someone comes to us, they're putting up a lot of the initial capital to run the company. They're highly motivated. They don't have an hourly mentality of 9 to 5, I want to punch the clock. This is their baby. I mean, they've put their heart and soul into growing this thing. They have an ownership mentality, and really there's no limits to, you can grow it fairly quickly. So, the main thing from the franchisor perspective we're doing is we are involved in training and kind of vetting the process, but they're doing a lot of the heavy lifting relating to, revamping the real estate in terms of, we're making sure it's up to our standard, but they're kind of joining the team. So every time someone comes in, they're kind of pulling their own weight, and so it allows us to, maybe hire a few employees to sell and maybe hire a few people to train, but we're not spending, we're not raising all the money like it would be if these were corporate stores.
So in a franchise relationship, say XYZ restaurant, there are tons of them out there that are franchises.
Right.
So initially, is there like a fee to get involved with the big company, and also royalties? Is that kind of the way financially it shakes out?
Absolutely. So for, obviously it depends on the franchise, but the main setup is you have an initial franchise fee. Okay. And that there's a big variance on what you might see there. Some of the startup ones might be really low. You might see the very startup ones, you might see like a couple $1,000 or something even lower than that, all the way up to $1 million for as the initial franchise fee. And then you also have what's a royalty, and the royalty is on gross revenue, because they don't want to worry about whatever your expenses might be. So that's whatever comes in, a percentage of that goes right back out, and then they might have a 1% marketing fund. Right. So around 5, 6, 7% on the royalty, and then maybe 1% on the marketing, and all that marketing money just goes out for national marketing that kind of benefits everyone.
Do the banks, when someone wants to start, for example, a McDonald's or a Subway, and there's a significant upfront franchise fee, do the banks take into consideration the brand itself that has been widely successful in the United States as to the financing that they're going to put into a project like this?
Absolutely. And the truth of the matter is that, now you'll hear different stats on this, but franchises are more likely, generally speaking, to be successful because you do have the business plan already in place. You already know how to make the fries. You already know how to make the shakes. The brand already exists. You're not, coming up with your own brand. So generally speaking, the bank kind of has, and there's certain banks that have, more of a appetite for franchise, but it's a lot easier to get financing when that system's in place than, hey, I'm just coming to you, I'm going to start something, I don't know what it is, I need a lot of money. So,
is there any negotiating with these big franchises in the contracts?
The negotiation depends upon how big the franchisor is. As you go up the scale, let's say, you're starting up with a startup franchisor, this is your first one, you can negotiate all day long because they want to get started. But as you go up the scale, what's actually in the main governing document, which is a franchise agreement, gets to be more and more standard, and they don't really want to be operating with a different contract just for you. We've had opportunities where we've negotiated on behalf of the franchisee, but as it gets up the chain, it gets tougher to do that, and they have more and more reasons to say, look, this is a system, do you want to buy in or not?
Now, as a law firm that does this type of work, do you advise getting a lawyer involved that can kind of work a la carte, like, all right, we need to file paperwork with the state of Alabama to get my business off the ground. I'm trying to work with a bank, and I need you to look at the bank loan documents and give me your opinion, and just kind of working through the process. Is that a good way to do it?
Well, there's a couple different ways. I think the way a lot of people think about it is they think about, I want to get an LLC set up, so they come to us for that, and then something else comes up, and then they already know us, so they call us, and that type of deal. What would actually make the process even more smooth is we get set up at the beginning of a sort of general counsel relationship, and that way, if anything comes up, they can call us up without hesitation. So the more seamless the relationship is, the better the results are, because you don't want something to kind of turn into a bit of a mess and then say, well, now we got to get Craig involved, or whatever the case might be.
Well, and the law plays a huge role in all the steps you just talked about.
Right.
I mean, it's a significant component. It's why you'd want to have a lawyer really involved from the start if you can.
Right. And you do any research on franchising or entrepreneurship, at some point in the article or the book or whatever, it's gonna say that having a small business lawyer or franchise lawyers involved in the process, it is important.
Yeah. Chapter 7, call Craig Lawrence. That's it. Well, and the net is, this is why you have folks like this on, because there are people out there right now that have started a business and probably not dotted the I's and crossed the T's and realize, wow, this thing's growing, I need to, and those types of things.
Now's the time to do it. About a minute and a half remaining, but time enough for both of you to give us a final thought for our viewers tonight.
Absolutely. Well, I think the final thing that comes to mind is the power of the network. I mean, having people in your network like Josh, having people in your network that benefit you over time. I mean, I worked for Josh many years ago, and I've had an opportunity to come on this show. So the power of the network, and that network can be your relationships, it can be your it can be your lawyer, your CPA, but having that network is really important. And a lot of people say, I'm going at it by myself, I'm a self-made man.
Nobody really is, are they?
No.
I mean, that's really not how it works in the real world.
Yeah, the only other thing I'd say quickly is this. One of the benefits of using a guy like Craig and his law firm would be that they have relationships too, and they're tied in with the network of the banks and how to file appropriate paperwork and relationships you need to market, those types of things. If you're thinking about starting a business, come to us, we'll get you to him, or go directly to him, one way or the other. But if you don't remember his contact information, you can call, email, or text us, and we'll get you to Craig right away.
Yeah, great place to start.
Thanks
the information is there on the screen. Thank both of you for this conversation. Really helpful. Appreciate so much the time tonight, and we'll look for you next time right here on The Attorneys.
Thanks for watching The Attorneys, sponsored by Hollis Wright.